Episode 59, talking about Star Wars.
All right. See, there's an agenda for tonight.
Yeah, there is an agenda.
An agenda I'm well versed in.
Well, that makes it easy to discuss the stuff. You know, if we have topics that everybody here knows a a little bit about, it makes it easier than uh, you know when you and Kerby are going on and on about video games that I've never played or no, which is fine. I don't mind listening in. I just can't be a huge part of that conversation. Um, so I want to see if they've got it going now. We're we're doing this as sort of a simultaneous thing, and Kirby's in here. So let me get him admitted in here. Oh, I'm sorry. This might be Dr. Kurt's dad.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, the epic reveal.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Well, normally I see this if he's got it going, and I'm not seeing it quite yet. So I don't know if it's going yet and I'm just missing it or not. But we are doing this at the same time as we'll say a friend of mine, more of an acquaintance, kind of a Facebook friend, um, who has a podcast called the Pop Culture Podcast, and he was trying to organize something for today where he would have a number of people come on because they do the same thing. I'm not sure if he uses Zoom or something else, but it's the same kind of thing as what we're doing here. And him and he'll have like a co-host, and then they'll have a guest on, and they'll discuss some movie or something. Because he's had um, people who are more famous than I am on his show, which
And you're pretty famous.
I had a small stint where I was like local famous, but now most of those people that, uh, well, most people wouldn't know who I am.
With my X-ray robot appearance aside, out of us three, you are the most famous one.
I don't know. People all over China are talking about Kerby.
I did not serve up the bats.
So, anyways,
Pretty weird he brought that up, though.
okay. So my friend Chris, he hosts the Pop Culture Podcast, and he decided that today, well, it wasn't necessarily going to be today. This is the day that they settled on, that they were going to have people come on and talk about Star Wars, all kinds of Star Wars things. This, I think, was largely prompted by the recent news releases of upcoming Star Wars projects. Now, at the same time, there were a lot of other Disney projects that were talked about and revealed to the general public. So we'll get into some of those too. But I had an interest in going on and talking, but he decided that he was going to do it at Wednesday at 8, which is recording time for Under the Cowl. And so I thought, instead of being on there, we could do this simultaneous podcast where we actually bring a topic, here to the internet table. So I thought to kick things off today, we would actually talk about where each of the three of us or anybody else who joins us, because we always have that open invitation for everybody for the club. It's posted on a private thing, so not to the general public, but anybody who's part of the club to join us and talk about whatever. Obviously, they all just prefer to listen to our podcast and watch us on YouTube rather than joining us in person. I'm sure that's what it is.
Yep.
But,
I know I had a few drinks again tonight. I keep drinking, hoping Eric's going to show up, because I recall those days where he'd walk into the Cowl drunk on Wednesday nights. And he just never shows up.
well, he did. He did like. I don't think the post for this one, but at the same time, or around the same time, I made another Star Wars related post where I shared that picture, that the elf on the shelf related one. I was trying to find a good caption for that, because for people who can't see that picture that I posted, it's the child, Baby Yoda, Grogu, that's it. Sometimes I trip up on that. Glue or something. I don't know. Baby Yoda rolled off the tongue a little bit easier for some reason, but I'm fine with the name Grogu when I can think of it, and maybe that's the problem with it. But I know that a lot of people complained that it wasn't a cute name. But
I think no matter what name it was going to be after like a season of not knowing, no matter what the name was going to be, it. I don't think there's a universal name like David.
Right.
Something.
Nobody was just going to accept him as Ted.
Steve.
Turtle.
They should have just called him Frank, as in Frank Oz.
Yeah. Little
Frankie.
Well, it's a Disney thing, and they weren't really sure where to, how to go about it. A lot of the Disney properties don't allow certain types of language. So the name Little Fucker didn't really work with their plans.
Yeah. They'll save that for the novels.
Well, it would have been a great name. He's trying to get him to catch the little ball thing. He's like, "Get it, little fucker."
Huh?
Because you got to call him by his name to get it to work.
Yeah, and
but we have a number of big Star Wars fans in the club. So I think if I had taken the time and posted about this earlier, maybe somebody would have jumped on board with it. I didn't know about it with enough notice to announce this at the club that we would be doing this. I mean, I had some ideas, and I think I might have mentioned it, because I can't remember if Saturday I knew, but I feel like maybe I mentioned something, but I didn't really have all the plans and everything down at that time. Otherwise, I could have let people know that, hey, we're going to talk Star Wars, and then maybe they would have jumped on. I could have seen Katie for sure wanting to get in on some Star Wars convo.
But now we're just talking about Star Wars.
Yes, that's all we're doing. We're talking about Star Wars.
With a bunch of people that know nothing about Star Wars.
I've never heard of it. So.
Yeah. And in fact, seeing that, another podcast was going to be talking about this gave me the idea to talk about it. And I'm like, hey, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like it could be entertaining. Some sort of Wars in the Stars.
Should be easy to catch up. I don't think there's much out there.
Yeah, maybe it has something to do with your astrological signs, and I'm a Libra and maybe I don't get along with a Scorpio or something, and we're at wars. That's probably what it was about.
Yeah.
But his idea over there was to talk about all of it. You know, the original trilogy, the prequels, the sequels, all the offshoots that have happened, are happening, are going to happen, and just kind of get everybody's input and feedback, what they like, what they don't like. And we've got a smaller group here, but I don't know. I mean, we've talked about Star Wars. You know, we've read comics. We've talked about movies. There's this one thing that I feel like it comes up all the time, like especially around this time of year. There's some Star Wars related thing that we mention. Some sort of a special thing.
That you're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy's holiday special?
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
You know, with as famous as that's probably going to be, I could see Star Wars kind of following suit and making one of their own. So
yeah, I could see them doing that.
Yeah, they might. It could be right on like network television, because nobody's doing that anymore. You know, go on network television, have some sort of holiday special. They can put stuff in there that doesn't even belong in Star Wars. You know, just kind of give it this Star Wars half-assed kind of try. You know, get a well-known music act could be on there.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Who's that?
Maybe get one of the friends.
Indian person that came to America and he's singing for people in Europe to help them.
Is this breaking news? I haven't heard that.
I don't know. On a side note, we were kind of curious about who owned. We recently bought a used car. It's in really great condition, low mileage, and everything. So we're thinking this is the kind of car like what we found for David for his car, where for that one we know it was like some older gentleman that owned it and didn't really run it around very much and took good care of it. We found a similar thing.
Bundy.
So we were kind of trying to figure out, I wonder what the person was like, because unlike that one, we didn't know anything about this person.
They like Star Wars.
Car dealer didn't say, it was some old guy that just drove it back and forth to the grocery store and kept it parked in his garage and changed the oil regularly. But we were thinking that might have been the case and I mentioned, well, maybe it was actually a younger person. This could have been some college kid, some girl whose dad made sure that the oil change happened all the time and took care of it, and was probably on her all the time, just like, hey, you got to get that in for the tire rotation and whatever. And that's how it got taken care of, because kids these days don't take care of it on their own.
Probably just had a bad motivator.
But Tammy's like, no, it was probably some old guy. Well, the CD player on it hadn't used it right away, so I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't even know if the CD player works in this thing. So I go to pop in a CD and it won't go in. So I'm thinking, maybe there's one in there, and I hit eject, and out pops a Justine Bieber CD. So
wow. So it was an old guy.
So it was probably an old guy, yeah. She was right.
Turns out it was Kerby's car.
Just gotta get those car facts.
So anyways, Star Wars, there's a lot of stuff going on and coming out right now. Everybody's really excited because they haven't announced it officially yet, but you just know there's going to be a Jar Jar Binks Disney Plus show.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If it makes Eric mad, then yes, I want it. So
you know who should be in it would be like everybody who's ever played the Punisher.
There we go.
Yeah.
So he has no you have to watch it.
So he's got to at least be curious about it.
Yeah.
I think him and Damon could get together and have like a watch party for it.
There we go. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we would ever see him again. We know the character is alive. He was in a recent novel and as like a street jester or something. He's so the character's out there. He wasn't killed off panel or something like that. But
have you seen the meme? Well, there's,
I've seen
the one meme where it's like it tends to go around like people with insomnia and stuff, or pass it around talking about the things that keep them up. So in the pictures will always be a person trying to go to sleep, and then a thought pops into their head, and then they're wide awake. Okay, so that's the layout of the little cartoon. So there's the one where it's going to sleep, and then the thought that pops into the person's head is Jar Jar Binks has never been killed off in canon and could be used in The Mandalorian. And then the eye is wide awake.
I can imagine a world where Jon Favreau brings him back in a way that everyone's not even upset about it, just because it's Jon Favreau working as man.
I actually could kind of see that happening, like using Jar Jar Binks in a way where people are going to go, oh my God, that's going to be the initial reaction. Like, what the hell is he doing in this? But to do it in a way where it's like, they don't actually do anything where the character pisses anybody off, but fans are excited to see him. And so it's not really a bad thing after all, other than the people who are just so against Jar Jar Binks that they riot simply because it was thrown in there. Now they've mentioned Gungans, and that kind of gets a laugh because everybody knows they're kind of poking a little fun at Jar Jar Binks, but to actually have him in there and do it in a way where it's
like could run through
it's a little bit more subtle.
Some major event where there's a bunch of weaponry flying around, and he can just sit there, run through, sticking his tongue out, grabbing all the bombs and swallowing them, and then runs off and explodes. And there's the end of Jar Jar, and he saves everybody.
We have yet to see season 2 at the time of this, the finale at the time of this recording. I'm calling it they're going to open up a little egg-shaped pod, and it's going to be baby Jar Jar.
And then baby Jar Jar and baby Yoda are going to fight over a frog.
For those fans of the theory that Jar Jar Binks was actually a Sith Lord, there's always the possibility that Moff Gideon is actually reporting to somebody,
And for anyone listening that doesn't know, I'm one that likes Jar Jar and embraces him, so I do hope we see baby Jar Jar.
So let's hear it. Aside from Jar Jar Binks, your likes and dislikes of it, what were everybody here, this large crowd of ours? What were the thoughts about the prequels? Now, Kerby, have you seen all the Star Wars movies that are out? Because I don't know, and there are people who are like, some people are like, I've never seen a Star Wars movie.
No, I'm finally caught up. Plus, I've seen pretty much, I think, all the animated stuff and all that. Only thing I haven't got caught up on is this season of The Mandalorian. I'm waiting till the first week of January before I get Disney Plus again.
Okay, so sorry about the thing there. I hate to spoil things for you. Wait, spoiler alert!
Remember,
warning: there might be spoilers on this show.
That's fine with me. I won't remember.
That's okay. I know it, and I was like, grow. Yeah.
The prequels I tried to watch too many times. I just can't. I've watched them all the way through a few times, but nowadays I try and start them, and it's like I can't even get a half hour into them.
The worst part for me is I just really didn't like Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. And I've had people, admittedly, I don't think I've seen him in anything else.
Oh, you're gonna hate to hear that he's sticking around.
I know. So it, but as Darth Vader. So any word on voice? I don't think we've heard like who's actually voicing Darth Vader.
No.
In that, but yeah, that'll be interesting because, I mean, in a lot of ways, he's probably going to be reduced to a guy in a suit, which he probably could pull off. You know, I think that's about how he played Anakin Skywalker. So I actually would like to see him in other things so that I can compare his acting in some way. I've heard people say, well, he played him that way for a reason. There's comparisons to how Luke Skywalker was, and I've heard those explanations for it, and it just doesn't work for me. So yeah, Anakin Skywalker, I wish I would have been more sympathetic to him. And I just couldn't do that. And I think a lot of it had to do with the way that the character was played. Now, if you watch the animated stuff, the Clone Wars, I like Anakin in that. It just his portrayal in live action was just very wooden, I think. And it took a lot of that away. Now, granted, I also felt like it was overuse of CGI, but I can kind of get past that. And there were some things where the dots didn't quite connect. When you knew about things, there was all the questions as far as R2D2 and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Him not knowing this droid and stuff like that. But who knows? Maybe we'll find out in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show that his mind actually gets wiped.
He's got a bad motivator.
C-3PO is not the only one. But yeah, that's. I can do. Are you familiar with the term suspension of disbelief? It's what allows us to enjoy movies where they have ridiculous things in there that normally you would go, that's impossible.
It's also called just enjoying life.
Yeah. Well, see, it's funny because a lot of people, they can be watching the most ridiculous thing where things are happening and whatever, and then there'll be that one thing that's not nearly as insane as a person.
There was a Starbucks cup cornered down.
And suddenly it's like, oh, I can't believe that they would never happen, So yeah, people are kind of weird about what they pick and choose about what they can, let go and what they just really irks them. So, but I guess for me, the prequels, I think if I had to pick something out that turned me off about them, it was actually the portrayal of Anakin Skywalker. I thought it could have been done better. I also the Anakin Padme thing. I just never really felt the chemistry there. So
only thing I can say I liked out of prequels was I liked Darth Maul. That character.
Yeah, for like the 30 seconds that he was in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's about it.
But it was the Boba Fett aspect. I mean, Boba Fett was barely in, any of the movies. He's actually had more screen time now in The Mandalorian. I'm sorry, spoiler.
Oh, we all know that. Apparently, he was in episode 1 of the first season and everything.
So,
I mean, honestly, that's one issue I have. I love Boba Fett. I mean, I like to see more of him and all that, but why does everything have to be back around Boba Fett? It's like anything that comes up has to bring up where is he, what part of the period is it, is he going to make an appearance?
So, but yeah, I mean, it is funny because he really he's had more screen time now in The Mandalorian than he did in the Star Wars films. And yet, the reason he's got this screen time now in The Mandalorian was because he was such a popular character for as little as he was actually used. But Darth Maul was kind of the same thing. I mean, he's barely in it. You know nothing about the character, really. And yet people loved it. It's like, best thing about Phantom Menace, Darth Maul. You know? So, of course, we know where Anthony stands on this. He loved them all.
Yep.
Yeah, if the internet didn't exist, I wouldn't know I'm supposed to dislike those movies. So when they were coming out, honestly, I had no interest in checking them out. I would have been just entering high school, I think, when Phantom Menace came out, and I knew they existed. Grew up with the originals, and it was as simple as like, oh, cool, it's new Star Wars, whatever. And then I was just watching wrestling mostly, and my mom came home one day and bought the VHS and like, hey, the new Star Wars on VHS. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I remember putting it in, watching it, once again going into it, just being like, all right, whatever. And then I see Natalie Portman. And that's when a whole world opens up. And I start searching for all of her movies.
He was growing hair in places he never had it before.
Yep. I was a young lad on a moment of discovery. So yeah, I see Natalie Portman, and suddenly I'm just like, okay, who's this? So then I go back and I find out about The Professional and the movie Where the Heart Is, and like, you know, I own every Natalie Portman movie that she's been in, and so immediately I am just loving
She
Star
was
Wars.
the precursor to Michael Allred. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, so I got into it pretty crazy, and then especially with Attack of the Clones, which she had the most screen time for, and I really loved the. I drew it. I was going to queue it up wherever my iPad is. At the end of the movie, spoilers for Attack of the Clones from 2002. They were entering the arena battle, and they were going to be executed and everything. Yeah, I don't have it on the iPad. And they kind of have a little moment where they kind of share together, and you see their silhouettes. And I did that in an art project, but with that whole scene, seeing them getting ready to be executed with Obi-Wan, and these monsters coming out and all these aliens cheering and all this crazy stuff, and huge Jedi battle, probably the first real Jedi battle we've seen in any Star Wars would have been at the end of Attack of the Clones, when we see like 75 Jedi running with lightsabers and everything. So that whole scene alone just makes that movie worth it for me. But so yeah, I highly enjoy the prequels.
I know, and it's like if you were in a boy band at that time, you were instantly like, "Hey, you want to be Jedi?"
Yeah, the NSYNC.
But yeah, so anybody, this is me asking, does anybody have like a favorite prequel movie?
Prequel movie? Oh, to the
Yeah.
Star Wars ones?
Yeah, because everybody always asks, "What's your favorite Star Wars movie?" And everybody goes right to the original trilogy, and
I'll pick the least favorite, because I think people even like Phantom Menace more than Attack of the Clones. But here's that moment for the people watching the video here. I did their silhouette moment right before the music kicks in, and then they go in and you see what the heck is going to be happening in that scene. So I saw Attack of the Clones 11 times in theaters.
So it actually, I don't know. When I think what people's least favorite is, I instantly go to Phantom Menace, just because I've heard the most complaints about that. That is probably my least favorite. Attack of the Clones, for prequel movies, I thought was okay. Revenge of the Sith probably would be my favorite, and yet there's a lot of some of my least favorite things about the prequels actually are in that movie at the same time. So it's kind of weird. Here I am not being able to choose a favorite again.
I can't either.
Revenge of the Nerds.
I'd have to rewatch them, and I don't want to, so I ain't gonna.
Is there one that you hate, a little bit less than the others?
I guess it would probably be the clones. I don't know. Just because of the overall battle scenes. But yeah. They sucked. Actually, I'd say the best thing was maybe Jar Jar Binks.
There you have it, folks.
That's all bad.
Okay, and because I already know Anthony's answer as far as the sequel trilogy, what are your thoughts, Kerby, on the sequels?
On 7, 8, 9?
Yeah.
If you from previous stuff, I hate him just because of what's his name?
Jar Jar.
Han Solo's kid.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I just can't stand Kylo. I don't know if I had to choose maybe the last one was probably the best one. I don't know. I was not overly thrilled with them. I couldn't stand a lot of the characters in them. I was not thrilled with the choices they made, but BB-8 was cool.
Yeah, there's not too many people that I'm aware of that have like huge amounts of hate for BB-8. That would be a perfect bumper sticker right there, and yet you don't see them.
It's like, honestly, you could have eliminated the prequels and the last three and just gave me Rogue Squadron, the Han Solo ones. I liked all those way better.
Yeah, see, I have heard the argument that, everybody had, for so many years, you have this buildup of expectations for sequels. And then they didn't do that. The things that most people thought were coming, that you were going to see in these sequels, didn't happen.
And they wrote so many good books around it, the original trilogy. And so that's why everybody is so hyped for the prequels and the sequels. But yeah, they came up with a lot of good books over the years.
That doesn't quite look right. You got to take off your shirt.
Podcasting?
For audio listeners, it's Anthony holding up a picture of Kylo Ren in front of his face. So.
I would need the iPad Pro in order to do the body shot too. So
Tammy and I were at St. Vincent de Paul over the weekend, and she looks for clothes and stuff, and I always go to the toy aisle because I figure maybe I can find some little treasure over there. And I found a Kylo Ren, whatever height that is, like Barbie doll size Kylo Ren. And for a brief moment there, I thought about picking it up for Ethan, who is the biggest Star Wars fan in the family. Not a huge Kylo Ren fan though. But I came home and I told him about it, and I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about getting it for you, but his helmet wasn't removable, and neither was his shirt.
Hey, you do custom sculpts and everything. I'm sure you could have taken that shirt off in record time. So
Ethan was okay with it.
Now he knows as if he's ever bad, you may give him a Kylo Ren figure and he'll learn his lesson. So
when The Force Awakens came out, I heard from a lot of people, about all the stuff that they did, that it was just like A New Hope and whatever, which I didn't get. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely make comparisons to it. I didn't see that, but I think that overall, I think they made the right choice in having some of the stuff that they did, making longtime fans, feel that nostalgia and whatever. Because that's what the movies were about. And I think doing it in that first movie and then moving on from there was the right way to do it. As a longtime fan, I personally appreciated some of the stuff that they went in there doing, and
They worked out good with the separation times and everything like that. So each one had its own generation that fell in love with it and stuck with it. So.
For me, of the sequels, episode 8 was definitely my least favorite. Unlike a lot of people, I'm not blaming people that were in it and characters and stuff like that. I just thought overall the feel of it and the story and everything, I didn't really like. It suddenly felt like a lot of things that I didn't like about the prequel movies. I felt a lot of those things in that movie, and it was to the point where I kind of I watched it and I kind of went, well, it ruined my childhood. No, I didn't say that, because it didn't ruin my childhood. It didn't ruin anything that came before it. But it made me not really care about anything that came afterwards. I kind of went, well, if this is where it's going, I'm not really thrilled about anything else. But then they came out with The Rise of Skywalker, and watching the trailers, I'm like, I'm curious, So I went into it, and there were things that I didn't like about that movie, but I did like it. I would say that it kind of redeemed itself in my eyes from its predecessor. But overall, I was disappointed in the sequels, but I think that it would have been really hard to make the perfect sequels to Star Wars. I think that the best way that you could do that probably is to do things like they're doing in The Mandalorian or Rogue One, or something like that, where you're really separating it from that stuff. In part because people do have very specific expectations of what they thought was going to happen to these characters. And that's probably a big reason why it's easier to enjoy The Mandalorian or Rogue One. Not everybody liked Rogue One, but I thought they did a really good job. I enjoyed it. As far as movies, Rogue One was probably my favorite, that had come out since the original trilogy.
Yep.
But it kind of, more or less, I won't say stood on its own, because obviously you need the original trilogy to, definitely episode 4 to even have Rogue One. But you didn't really, as long as it lined up, with where episode 4 picked up, it was pretty easy to go off and do something and expand upon the Star Wars universe in a way that you couldn't do where you're just following everything that came before.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Star Trek.
And yeah, then there's that very popular Disney Plus show. What was it called? I know we were just talking about it before. Baby Yoda, the Baby Yoda show. Well, as far as the stuff that's coming next, what's everybody excited about? Anything?
So
Well, we don't have really come until 2022, do we?
I'm not even sure. I don't remember all the timelines. As far as movies were a little bit longer. I know the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing is supposed to start filming in March.
it has been filming actually. I think
Has it? Because I've heard some mixed things, but some of the official stuff that was released said filming in March. So I don't know. So it may or may not already be filming. I couldn't tell you. When have you heard that it started filming?
because I know they were scouting locations. I think in Boston they were doing some film prep, so like all the pre-production stuff is well underway and things like that. So we haven't seen any, paparazzi photos, and haven't seen Haley Steinfeld on the set or anything. So
Yeah, and I know some of the location scouting and stuff that was reported on previously. Now they're going, oh, maybe it wasn't for that project. Maybe it was one of these other projects. So, and I don't know how soon they're moving forward. I don't know what the timeline is for like Ahsoka. Did they release a date when we're supposed to see that?
I think the only actual date we have is season 3 of Mandalorian for next December. That was the only thing I think that was confirmed officially as far as what's rolling out. But definitely a bunch of talk about things that had been filming that maybe we didn't know about. So it's a possibility that they have some of that stuff, because they have the Cassian Andor show that will be in production, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, that whatever the other one is, like the Guards of Azkaban or something. What is that called? The
Guardians of the Galaxy Far, Far Away.
yeah, something like that. There's some
New Republic Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers,
Yeah.
which I think is the only one that we don't know anything about beyond that title.
Apparently it has been announced that drawing a blank here on the character's name from Mandalorian.
Hey.
The woman that would kick my ass.
Oh,
Well, that's pretty much anybody in
martial artist.
Rhonda.
Okay, I have 10 fingers. Let me name 10 of them on here, and then we'll go to the next 10 fingers. Gina Carano's character.
Yes, it's been stated that she would be in that project as well. And Ahsoka and New Republic Rangers are supposed to happen in the same. They're in Mando time. So
Mando time. But yeah, season 3 of Mando is the only one that has been confirmed to my knowledge that will be next December. So I figure with all the Marvel Disney Plus releases, they probably have a decent window in there that they can kind of distract and be like, all right, well, they start releasing all the Marvel stuff that's coming down the release dates there, that'll buy them enough time to have a real strong 2022 probably.
Yeah, 2021 we'll have the zombie outbreak from the COVID things, that vaccine that's out there. So we'll never get any more Star Wars.
I'm looking over because I thought I'd check and see what's going on over here at the Pop Culture Podcast. They currently have 6 people on, so they got us doubled. But they are popping up comments from other people who are.
You didn't count the Goomba though, did you?
No, I didn't. Or Shirtless Bear Fighter.
And Madman. I retired Shirtless Bear Fighter He had his run on the podcast. He'll make a
Yep.
triumphant return somewhere down in next season.
He had the runs on the podcast.
Yep.
Um,
Those aren't hairy legs.
so of the projects that are supposed to be coming out, anything you're most excited about?
Mine is definitely the Obi-Wan show. Going into the Marvel Star Wars comics of the last couple of years, in between arcs, they would do these Obi-Wan journals in which they would do these basically lost episodes that were Sir Alec Guinness time frame of him overlooking Luke and stuff before they had officially met as Obi-Wan and stuff, just old Ben basically. And there's one issue that is simply, the whole issue is about him helping the people in Tatooine because Jabba the Hutt is taxing all their water or something. And like, it's definitely built for like an episode of television. So like when there were rumors and they didn't confirm Obi-Wan, I actually got to talk to Jason Aaron, who was the writer of those comics. And I'm just like, that would be so amazing if they, just took that format. I'm not saying just film live action versions of his comics, but like that idea where an episode is him just dealing with, the water tax or something. But and the idea of Ewan McGregor and now Hayden Christensen coming back and just seeing that transformation into Sir Alec Guinness, like I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff. Plus, it's all springing out of some of my favorite movies, which are the Star Wars prequels.
My favorite thing about the prequel movies actually was Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think Ewan McGregor did a great job playing young Ben.
Hello there.
Was old Ben. But I really like that character. I know Obi-Wan Kenobi is Ethan's favorite Star Wars character. So I'm sure both of us are pretty excited about that. I'm sure other members of my family would be very excited about that. So that's definitely high on the list. I think for me, more so than any movies or anything. I am interested in Ahsoka. We were skeptical, I guess, going in to seeing how this character was played in live action. And kind of the conversation in my house was, I'm worried about what she's going to sound like, and I think Ethan was the first one to say that, because, they really know the voice from, Star Wars: The Clone Wars and from Rebels and
Ashley Eckstein.
So, what is she going to sound like? Because if she sounds too different, it's just not going to seem like Ahsoka. And but we watched it, and I kind of was watching for everybody's reactions, and I asked afterwards, and I think the general consensus seemed to be that she pulled it off. Name's right on the tip of my tongue.
Rosario Dawson.
Yes, thank you. But she, obviously didn't sound exactly like Ahsoka from the animated versions. But you're thinking, okay, this is some years afterwards. So when you think of her as being a little bit more grown up and matured, you can kind of imagine that she now has this more mature voice, because Ahsoka always sounded young and everything, but now she's more grown up. She's out on her own. She's had this life and this tragedy, and knowing that Anakin, who was the person she was the closest to and was her master, that he's the one that turned on the Jedi and everything else, and finding all this out in Rebels. I think might have changed her and added to that maturity. And so now the version that you're getting in The Mandalorian and then in her own show is that more mature, older Ahsoka. Yeah, so I guess while we're talking about all those announcements, Disney also made a lot of other announcements. The ones that most people were paying attention to were Star Wars and the MCU. So, was there any other announcements that anybody got out of that you're excited for or disappointed in?
I'm looking forward to the Ahsoka one also, but I also want to see the Jawa's Black Friday special, holiday special.
Is that one you're making, or?
No, I thought John Farwell was doing that. Jawas go on a hunting excursion or a shopping excursion.
That might be on a Disney Plus. That one I'm not subscribed to, so.
They're waiting for the doors to open so they can just stampede and try to get that good droid. About the bad motivator.
I do have the complete rundown of the MCU thing. If you wanted, I don't know what time and what you were expecting, but.
Oh yeah, we can go a little bit long. That's fine. I was laughing before because I looked over at the Pop Culture podcast now, and somebody had written a comment down there. I didn't see the whole thing. I think it was part of a conversation about still owning a VCR, and they said something along the lines of, "It's purely an old porn machine."
I got a 27-inch TV in front of me that has a VCR and a DVD player on it. It's all built in.
And that's what you're watching us on right now?
Yep. An old porn tape.
So he's hoping Anthony does take off his shirt.
Well, speaking of porn in the form of the MCU that we haven't had since 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home, January 15th, we've got WandaVision, so the brand new trailer just dropped for that. They have yet to confirm what the episode count is going to be, but I heard a lot of chatter early on that there were going to be like 6-hour-long episodes. What's that?
Wanda Sykes strip show?
No, Wanda Sykes, Wanda Maximoff instead. So yeah, the WandaVision show is just going to be weeks away from this point. Got a release date for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is going to be coming out in March. Also got the first official trailer for that one as well. They are sitting firm with theater releases as of now, because this did come post HBO Max announcement. But they said that the Black Widow movie is still going to be set for May for theaters, and at this time, no intention for any Disney Plus, day and date release as well. The Loki show for Disney Plus will be coming in May as well. That we did get a trailer for. What If, which will be the first MCU animated series based off of the 70s, 80s What If comics. We got a trailer for that. And what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum? What if T'Challa?
I wish they would have done better because I liked the fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I clicked on something and we briefly heard audio from that other podcast.
You weren't kidding when you said to simultaneously do.
Yeah, we actually just accidentally had some audio feed from them.
So yeah, we got What If will be animated series, standalone episodes, all narrated by Jeffrey Wright, who will be playing Uatu the Watcher. Then in July in theaters, we will finally see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, making its debut into the MCU. And then November of 2021 is the Eternals, which we were supposed to have last month if everything was on schedule. That we have yet to get a trailer for. I would assume that probably maybe February, March, maybe they'll drop something, if they are. November is looking better than May is when it comes to when they're dropping movies. So November feels a little more safe for them. But So yeah, the Eternals is set for November. Then they showed a sizzle reel for my most anticipated, which is Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus. Kamala Khan jumping to the small screen, who will then eventually leap into the big screen. I'll mention that later. But we've got Vellani, who is cast as Ms. Marvel, and that'll kind of open up that portion of the MCU. A Hawkeye show that we've seen a lot of pictures coming through in the last couple weeks, confirming Haley Steinfeld playing Kate Bishop. See Clint Barton played by Jeremy Renner. That's all happening. So that is all scheduled for late 2021. So no firm release dates, but all of that stuff is filming at the moment. Spider-Man 3 for December of 2021, which probably has the most news out of any project with all of the reveals. And I forget if I've talked about all of this kind of stuff already on a later to be released AB conversation. So my brain doesn't remember if we talked about this at all, but it's a big topic, but it's basically a live action Spider-Verse seems to be forming.
And there's a lot of information being, spewed forth from the internet concerning Spider-Man 3. And a lot of it comes out and you're like, wait, is that confirmed? And a lot of it's like not confirmed, but on the verge of being confirmed. But it looks like we will be getting, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and, other people that we've seen in past movies. Which I've seen this thing going around the internet too, where somebody had posted, do I have to watch Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, and 2 to be able to watch Spider-Man 3? So
if it's done by the MCU, I'm sure it'll probably be very introductional because every MCU movie is somebody's first MCU movie. Because even Infinity War, I think Endgame's the only movie out of any of those 23 movies or whatever that you probably do need to see a couple of them. But even Infinity War is it's just so fun that I think it would, like Avengers, it would only get you to go check out stuff.
It'll be fun to revisit Sam Raimi's Spider-Man before, revisiting him in a movie that is, they're saying will directly lead into Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange.
Which is the next movie set for March of 2022, because Doctor Strange is set for Spider-Man 3 as well. And then you have Sam Raimi taking over for Scott Derrickson for directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So if you wanted any more confirmation, all of the puzzle pieces are there. You just put them together, and we're just waiting for that official confirmation.
It is also being stated that WandaVision will also tie directly into Doctor Strange.
Yep, because we do have confirmation that Elizabeth Olsen will be in Doctor Strange as well. Pre-pandemic, WandaVision was leading right into Doctor Strange, which would have been March of this coming year going into May. That was the plan. So now there'll be a little separation, about a year separation, but that's going to be on Disney Plus the whole time, so just rewatch it. So
it is getting to the point that it already has. Captain America really did that, where all these MCU movies that are like an individual characters, like Captain America or Spider-Man or whatever, have now become kind of like Avengers Light, where it's like it's a team movie now instead of just our individual characters. We've got to put all these other characters from the MCU into a Spider-Man movie or a Doctor Strange movie or whatever. Now, for people like me, I think that's great, because then I get to see all these characters more. I can see that being kind of a turnoff to anybody who's new to these movies or somebody who isn't as into them as like we might be. But for people like us, I see that as being great. And it does work. I mean, there's movies that I probably wouldn't have cared that much about seeing, but I've seen simply because it was part of the whole picture. But there's not any of these movies that I have regretted seeing, so it works.
In May of 2022 is when we'll get Thor: Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi bringing the crew back together, getting confirmations that Lady Sif, so Jamie Alexander, would return. We have Natalie Portman confirmed that will be returning as Jane Foster. But the big news with this recent Disney investor meeting was the official confirmation of Christian Bale playing the God Butcher, Boar, I believe his name is. The God Butcher playing the villain. So if you go back to those Dark Knight movies, Batman himself had said, like, you know,
Garbage.
living your life as a hero, you live long enough to become the villain, or whatever the spin of that line is. Now he's lived long enough to be the villain in Thor: Love and Thunder. So
Yes. And we'll see how Christian Bale transforms himself physically to play this part.
yeah, he does go to extreme lengths. So
He's definitely known for doing that.
for July of 2022 is the Black Panther sequel, which the main news out of that is the confirmation that they won't be recasting T'Challa. And that's really all we know as far as, firm confirmation. I've heard good things and bad things about that. Good things because it's just like, obviously a lot of respect and love for Chadwick. But then there was an interesting take on it too, is that T'Challa has been a character that's been around since the 60s in comic books. And to now immediately take that character just out of the movies, much like, you recast Bonds and, things like that, like the fact that it's a hard situation no matter what. This is just what's happening, at least for now.
Yeah. I think Boseman himself would be against it.
What's that?
I think Chadwick himself would be against them pulling him, taking T'Challa out of the whole picture.
Yeah, I would say too, he would probably, would rather see someone, take the role. But basically, whatever decision, if they had said that, it would, much like the Grogu thing, it was probably a 50-50 thing where, yeah.
And I don't know how the best way to handle it is. I mean, do you kill off the character in the MCU? I think, maybe the best way to handle it would have actually been to just not make anything with him. Name drop him once in a while. Tell us how great T'Challa is, or whatever. Give little nods here and there. Or something like that, but to not actually use him and do another Black Panther movie, maybe focusing on some of the other characters. But I don't know. They might have a good way to be able to do it, to continue on that legacy in some other way. We really don't know what they have in mind. Maybe they just have so much extra footage from the first one that they're just like piecing it together.
Here we go. Yeah. Then Captain Marvel 2 will be showing up in November of 2022. Regardless of what YouTubers say, Brie Larson is returning as the character from that $1 billion grossing movie. So she's not being recast. One of the big exciting things is that Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, will jump from the Ms. Marvel television show into Captain Marvel 2, as well as another one, which I know is public knowledge, but I'm not saying it because we're going to see this other character in something else. But if people that don't just live and breathe this stuff like I do all day, it's going to be a fun surprise. So I'm not going to add anything else to the other news that they released on that. 2022 is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That may be 2023. There's a little question mark on that one. But also is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So James Gunn will be returning for both projects, doing Volume 3, as well as doing the holiday special, which has long been a joke that he kept pitching to Kevin Feige and just being like, we got to do this, back when Guardians was a big hit and then Guardians 2 was coming out.
Was it ever really just a joke, though?
Well, maybe they just needed enough time to pass until they're just like, yep, we can embrace. They just needed a Disney Plus to pull it off. Maybe ABC wasn't into it or something. So, but yeah, the holiday special will be showing up on Disney Plus, and then he will also be directing the I Am Groot short form show. I believe it's quote unquote live action. I don't think it's any animated, like a what if type of thing, but it's a short form. So whether that's maybe like the Forky show that's on Disney Plus, maybe it's 5 to 10 minute episodes, and don't really know much about it. But yeah, so lots of Guardians coming down the pike there. She-Hulk officially for 2022. We got the confirmation that Tatiana Maslany, who is famous for Orphan Black, she was long rumored, and then she had turned that down, saying, no, that's not true. That must have just been like, I can't say anything. But it is official. She's a very beloved actress, and I think Alison Brie was the only other one that a lot of people were hoping for as well. But if you ask me, I think both are excellent choices. So confirmation Mark Ruffalo will be returning as Bruce Banner in there, as well as possibly, once again, the floating Charlie Cox rumors of him being Matt Murdock, whether it's Spider-Man 3 that's Star Wars, and maybe the She-Hulk show as well, which obviously would make sense with the lawyer aspect. So that's a lot of exciting news on that front. Moon Knight, and the same logo we saw before. A lot of rumors about Oscar Isaac from Poe Dameron from Star Wars, who's in the new Dune movie as well. No confirmation, but there was a lot of chatter about that a while back. So
yeah, that's about the only name that I've heard. And that's another one of those things where, despite a lack of confirmation, it's been reported as like fact, like that is who we're getting for Moon Knight.
yeah, Kevin Smith's commentary on that is basically the deal has just yet to be finalized. Like when you hear something that sounds so true, like, yep, he's playing him, but they don't come out and say it. He's just like, they're still dotting T's and crossing I's and all that stuff. This is one that a lot of people weren't expecting. Well, we did know that Nick Fury, Sam Jackson, was going to be returning as Nick Fury for a Disney Plus show. We just didn't know that he was going to be joined by Ben hold on, I'm saying all the names at once. Ben Mendelsohn's Talos, who is from Captain Marvel. They are joining together for a show called Secret Invasion, based off the popular comic book storyline with the Skrull invasion of the modern era. And something like that sounds like, oh, that's a big screen material. But they've said, this is something that's really going to, start over here, because all the Disney Plus and movies and everything are all part of the same, stepping stone. So it's pretty ambitious, maybe is the best word for it, is that Secret Invasion is going to be something huge that's building on the small screen that will most likely leak into the big screen. This one I didn't see coming, especially this soon, but it's still to be announced for date, so it could still be 3 years from now. But Riri Williams will be getting an Ironheart show. Riri from the comics, co-created by Brian Michael Bendis. Seems like there'll be plenty of time after Iron Man, not only with COVID, but then this show actually not getting off the ground until then. So it might seem like a sweet spot of just like, all right, we might be, 4 years separated from Iron Man at that point. So that might be a good time for that. We did get a casting for her, which is also probably going to tie in with Armor Wars, which is going to be James Rhodey's War Machine show, Don Cheadle returning. And there's a lot of finger crossing for now I just forgot Justin Hammer. I forgot the actor's name right now, but who's awesome. But he's one of those that a lot of people loved him as that character, and he would fit perfectly into Armor Wars. Ant-Man sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania is the subtitle for that movie. We got confirmation that we're going to see Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer return. They've recasted the older Cassie from Endgame. So Cassie will be played by somebody else, which I think will be an even more older version to kind of throw her into the stature role as well. And then we had previously known that the Fantastic Four movie was happening with the Fox deal, which feels like a millennia ago, that because there's been many other topics in life to talk about. I don't know why Kerby's doing that. I don't know if that's a reaction to Fantastic Four or. All right. I got no audio from you, so.
Oh yeah, he's got it muted.
No, I just stay unmuted.
So Fantastic Four, which once no set date for it, but it's not going to be any sooner than 2022. But John Watts is going to be directing, who is the director of the 3 current Spider-Man movies and the Tom Holland movies. And other than the Russo brothers jumping from Captain America into Avengers, this would be the one director that has basically just kind of jumped over to a different property within the franchise completely, which is pretty interesting news. Obviously, I liked what they saw in there rather than grabbing a new director in or something. But I think with the lighthearted fun that these Spider-Man movies have been, of just there's just a lot of fun with the Spider-Man movies. Instilling that with the Fantastic Four characters seems like a pretty good decision there. So and then Blade, nothing more. That's just still on the table. Maybe sooner rather than later from recent reports, but Mahershala Ali as Blade is still happening. But that is the quickest way to go through all of that MCU news from Thursday night last week.
Basically all the way up to 2072, and half these people are going to be dead before anything happens.
Oh, cats having free.
Way to bring it down.
Well, we went through a huge list, a year and a half ago, and all them just got pushed further along. And it's it's a long way.
Not with things actually filming, though. I think if all this was talked about back in March, it'd be like, all right, this is stuff. Is it ever going to happen? Now with them actually filming and taking the precautions and protocols, and a lot of this stuff being on Disney Plus, so a lot of that stuff, is all filming.
Are they full cast filming right now? I mean, a lot of people I hear talking are saying that they're being held off, pushed around. They got to go through these 3 months extra in and out of COVID prep stuff. And
see, what they do is they have them masked up, but they're wearing green masks, and then they just CGI their face in later.
Yeah, just use the Justice League mustache filter to remove it.
You'll never know the difference.
Wanda's complete, Falcon's complete, Black Widow's been done, obviously. I'm pretty sure Loki's done. Shang-Chi's done. That's all wrapped. Eternals is done. All the stuff for 2021 movie-wise is complete. And show-wise, the first half of the year is all complete. All the back half stuff is all filming. Spider-Man 3's been filming. I think Doctor Strange just started filming. Thor, I think they're just prepping because so everything for 2021 is basically 6-7 months ahead of schedule as far as when it's coming out, that it's already actively happening. So basically a lot to keep us entertained in the next 2 to 3 years, just from Disney's side of things.
So jumping from Disney completely, I wanted to touch on the Warner Brothers thing that's going on, because that's the other thing that's in the news. Not all the things that they're releasing, but how they're releasing and the controversy that's going along with it. I think which stems mostly from not really discussing with directors and people how they were going to do this. So we've now learned that a lot of these Warner Brothers projects are actually going to hit not just theaters but HBO Max, and so they're going to have it on there, giving people the option to see it without going into theaters. Because number one, the theaters are either not open or not opening to capacity, and so they're going to have it on there. Now, a lot of people fear that that's going to hurt, the box office, and it's going to hurt theaters and the movie industry in general. But regardless, there's a lot of people who are saying they shouldn't have done it the way that they did, because there was nothing discussed with the people who were making these movies as far as how they were going to be released. Here they're thinking, we're going to get them out in the box office, and instead they're going to be played here. A lot of movies, when they're released, there are bonuses involved based on the box office success. So if they're shown on HBO Max versus in the theaters, that affects, the paydays of people other than Warner Brothers themselves.
And the director of Dune found out the exact same time as you and I did that his movie was going to be
to the second.
Yeah, like I was sitting next to him because we were, just having a pizza party, and we both got the Apple News alert, and I'm like, "Hey, your movie's going to be on HBO Max," and he's like, "What?"
He just about spit out his blueberry Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, we did get, we got Eaton's Pizza, me and the Dune director, which he has a name, but I just call him, we're tight, so I know him as Dune director. So.
Dune, we call him.
I call him old Double D, so. But yeah, it's an interesting model, and they say for the 2021 slate that, they're not saying that that's going to be like that for 2022 just because of the, unstable nature of what it's going to be like for theaters. And I mean, yeah, like you said, there's theaters that aren't open in some states, and especially the really big states that bring in, your California and your New York and Chicago and stuff, that there's a lot of them that are still closed there. So it gets the movies off the books for the year, and they're able to, it's a whole bunch of financial stuff that I'm not smart enough to know or anything, but it's just one of those situations being like, we have to do something. They probably made a decision that they had to do that was the best for them. But like you said, the worst part of it was just not letting other people know that it was happening.
Right.
So,
I agree they had to do something, because everything right now is just so up in the air, but they've spent all this money, they've made these films, and now they're just sitting there. So, and I'm sorry, Kerby, I cut you off.
Well, I don't see it being a problem because, number one, society with the whole COVID thing, everybody got screwed anyway. So the theaters that aren't open, it's not because of people not coming to see the movies. It's because of how they have to run and structure things, and that's why they aren't really running. But I don't see it, if they get back up and running in a decent capacity thing, I don't see it being a problem, because the people that want to go see movies are still saying they want to go see movies, and they will go see movies. And the people that want to watch it at home, we were told 20 years ago that they were going to structure it where within a week or 2 weeks of a movie hitting a theater, it would be brought out on DVD. And that never happened. And all of a sudden now it's gotten further and further apart from when the movie's in theaters till it comes out on something. And now with them coming out at the same time, I don't see it being a problem. You're still going to see the people going to the theaters if they have the actual ability to go to the theaters.
Yeah. Well, if
And
it makes anybody feel better, I won't be watching any of this stuff on HBO Max.
I mean, look at all it with the whole COVID thing. All the theaters that tried to keep something going, what did they do? They brought back movies from the 80s, the 90s, and people went and seen them. And they're going to see them.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to watch the stuff at home, I'm just going to watch a pirated version like everybody else. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. But no, it's I think you know, if there's a movie that comes, I mean, we went and watched movies like Lord of the Rings when they replayed them in the theaters and stuff. So if there's a movie that's released that that I want to go see in the theater, and theaters are showing it and they're open, yeah, I'm going to go see it in the theater.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Okay.
Speaking of the last little button on there, because we had talked about it on the last one, is that Roku did make a deal now with HBO Max, and they didn't say a date, but I mean, it would be dumb if it's not ready by Christmas for the Wonder Woman release. So for anyone that was still waiting on that,
I got a question about HBO Max. Is there a difference between HBO and HBO Max? And is there?
I think ultimately it's the same package price, but to watch HBO Max was only available through an app. So if you had HBO, I think you had access to all of it, except you wouldn't be able to watch the Max tier through your TV. Jim is the one that's got it right now, and I'll be getting Christmas Day to officially know, but I'm pretty sure it's only one price for access to everything old and new, from my understanding.
And the first thing that actually will be on there will be Wonder Woman 84, right?
Yep.
That's the first thing on there. Which and it sounds like of all these people and whatever directors and everything, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot were actually talked to by Warner Brothers. So it was discussed with them, just apparently not with anybody else in the industry.
Yeah, the only thing that because it felt like it was just going to be a Wonder Woman thing, and then maybe they would see how it did, and then maybe announce the 2021 news. But it seemed like they just didn't want to wait on that. So I don't even know how much they even knew about that. That was just from my understanding, the decision they made for their movie. And then all of a sudden a week later, oh, by the way, we're just going to do it for everything, and be like, oh, well, okay. But the other important thing for those wondering, that they're going to be available for a month, 30 to 31 days upon the release. So if you're going to get HBO Max in June and you want to watch Mortal Kombat and Dune and Wonder Woman or whatever big movies came out in that half a year, that's not going to be possible. Wonder Woman will be on video and stuff by that time anyways. But if you want to see those movies through HBO Max instead of the theater, there is that 30-day window on the release date. So,
and I hear Gal Gadot will also be watching from home while enjoying some Taco Bell.
Yes, I watched that as well, and I was getting nervous. I was hoping she wasn't going to be disgusted by it, and it felt like I can relate to her a little more. A big Hollywood celebrity who maybe is usually advertising, fitness and health and stuff like that. To see her eat some Taco Bell and actually enjoy it on camera, either she's that great of an actress or she did really like that comfort food. So it sold more Taco Bell for me. I know I'm getting it soon. So
there you go.
So on that note,
I'm sorry, what did it say?
he said,
Carol.
Yo Carol Wonder Woman.
No, he said, how cool is this?
Oh,
I think there were other ones, because they would make it go back and grab, get more, because the other ones said Yo quiero Taco Bell, and oh boy. What the? All right, David, reach for your weird thing.
Mr. Ed is? Mr. Ed the talking horse? You don't know who that is?
I didn't know they made toys of Mr. Ed. I have his DVDs. That's not how you spell Mr. Ed, though.
That's
Was it MISTER? Or I thought it was just the MR, though.
see the mob wanted to send Wilbur a message, so he woke up next to Mr. Ed's head.
Just call me Mr. Ed.
I've got his DVDs, so Mr. Ed
He's
fan.
for sale on eBay right now.
On that note,
Yes. All right. Well, I think we will wrap up this this extended
Wrap up our
episode.
discussion.
We'll stop talking about Star Wars now.
yep. Okay.